I was only 15, a nervous Boy Scout on what was supposed to be a fun weekend campout. My tent mate had cancelled at the last second, which meant I was left to pitch and sleep in my tent alone. By the time the sun went down, the woods had turned black and silent except for the chirping of crickets. After hours of hiking, everyone was exhausted and busy setting up their own camps. I fumbled with my tent in the darkness, muttering under my breath, until a fellow scout gave me a hand. We ate dinner, told cliché scary stories around the fire, and one by one drifted off to sleep. At first, I felt a tiny thrill of freedom having my own tent. More space, more privacy. I drifted off easily. But in the dead of night, a strange sound woke me. Heavy stomps circled my tent, slow and deliberate, like someone pacing just inches away from me. I assumed it was another scout sneaking out to relieve himself. But our scoutmasters had pitched our tents far apart from each other for privacy and independence. I was alone out here. The stomps continued, dragging around in a circle. Irritated, I called out. No response, just the footsteps receding into the trees. My heart was pounding, but I tried to convince myself it was nothing and lay back down. Minutes later, the stomping returned, louder, closer, circling again. Fed up, I unzipped the tent, expecting to catch some prankster. But there was no kid. There was a man. At least 6 feet 5 inches, mid-30s, with a hollow smile. He put a finger to his lips and signaled for silence. My blood went ice cold. Without thinking, I spun and bolted out of the tent, screaming for my scoutmaster. He came running with another adult and a hunting rifle. When they reached my tent, the man had vanished. But there were clear footprints circling my tent in the damp earth. That night, all our tents were moved right next to each other. The trip was cut short the next morning. I've never been camping again, and I never will. Story 2: The Laughing Stranger by the River. It was supposed to be a carefree guys' weekend, 4 of us camping near the Willamette River. We hiked deep into the woods, cracked open beers, went night fishing, and laughed until everything was funny. By 2 a.m., my friend and I had collapsed into our tent while the other 2 settled into theirs. At first, we heard giggling and assumed the other guys were goofing off. We yelled for them to shut up, but one of them yelled back, "It isn't us." That sobered me instantly. The laughter wasn't theirs. It wasn't even familiar. It was one single voice, deep, male, maybe mid-30s or 40s, floating through the trees like a bad radio signal. It grew closer, louder, almost playful, but with something missing, something wrong. There was no way anyone should have been this far out at night. The laughter reached the edge of our campsite, but there were no footsteps. Moving through this undergrowth silently was impossible. My friend looked at me, pale and wide-eyed. Then, silence. Total silence. We held our breath. Suddenly, the fabric of our tent pressed inward, a hand-shaped shadow sliding down the moonlit nylon. We screamed and bolted out, crashing through the trees toward our car. Our other friends were right behind us, screaming too. After minutes of blind running, we somehow found the car. I puked from the panic and the sprint, but drove anyway. I don't condone drinking and driving, but at that moment, it felt like our only option. To this day, I don't know who, or what, was laughing. Story 3: The Photographs in the Canadian Wilderness. Fresh out of college, I decided to find myself by backpacking alone in the Canadian wilderness. For 7 days, I barely saw another soul. Once, a canoe passed far off in the distance. That was it. No towns, no cell service. I brought disposable cameras to document the trip. When I got home and developed them, the first half of the roll was nothing but serene lakes, towering pines, and me grinning by the campfire. Then, halfway through, 2 pictures froze me to the core. They were photos of me, asleep, inside my tent, in my sleeping bag, taken at close range. I had a breakdown right there in the Photoshop. Someone had been with me, inches from me, while I slept, someone holding my camera. To this day, I have no idea who took them. I don't camp anymore. I sleep with my bedroom door open and my curtains drawn tight. But sometimes, late at night, I still feel like whoever took those pictures is still watching me. Story 4: The Homeless Stranger at the Gorge. My boyfriend and I had gone camping at the gorge countless times, always with friends. This time it was just us. When we arrived, 2 sketchy men emerged from the trailhead, eyed us, and retreated to an old VW campervan. A twinge of unease flickered in my gut, but I brushed it off. We hiked to our usual spots, looking for a private place to camp. Up on the hill, someone had clearly set up camp for a long time. We pitched our tent further down. As darkness crept in, a man appeared out of nowhere, offering to sell us firewood for $10. His story was odd. He'd been camping here almost a month, living on snakes and bugs, claiming he was alone but mentioning some dudes on the other side of the river. He took us to his camp, which was clearly outfitted for several people, not one. From up there, he had a perfect view of our campsite. Night fell. He helped us start a fire, then left. I whispered to my boyfriend that there was no way I could sleep knowing this liar was up the hill watching us. We had no gun, no knife, no dog. He convinced me to try, but as darkness deepened, we heard branches snapping around our tarp. Someone was out there. I said, "Let's quietly pack up and get the hell out." We left our tarp behind because tearing it down would make too much noise. As soon as I shouldered my pack, his voice boomed from the dark. "Leaving so soon?" My blood went cold. We didn't run, we flew. As we retreated, he yelled for us to come back. We didn't stop until we were at our car. In my mind, we narrowly escaped being robbed, attacked, or worse. His stories didn't add up, and his eyes held something predatory. I called the Rangers the next morning and told them about him. The only thing he got from us was a brand new tarp.